各位记者朋友，大家下午好，欢迎大家出席今天的外交部例行记者会。首先，我要发布一则消息：应国务院总理李克强邀请，柬埔寨王国首相洪森将于2月9日至11日对中国进行正式访问。下面欢迎大家提问。
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问：中方发布了柬埔寨首相洪森将访华的消息，能否进一步介绍此访的有关安排？中方如何看待当前中柬关系对此访有何期待？
洪森首相是中国人民的老朋友、好朋友，他是中国在2023年中国农历春节之后首位接待的外国领导人，充分体现了中柬关系的高水平。访问期间，中国领导人将分别同洪森首相举行会见会谈，就双边关系及共同关心的地区和国际问题深入交换意见。中柬是传统友好邻邦和铁杆朋友，由两国老一辈领导人亲手缔造的中柬友谊历久弥坚。在两国领导人战略引领下，近年来中柬命运共同体建设取得丰硕成果，为两国人民带来了实实在在的利益，也为地区乃至世界的和平与繁荣做出了贡献。今年是中柬建交65周年和中柬友好年，中方期待以此访为契机，推动中柬命运共同体建设取得更大发展，让中柬友好代代相传。下一问题。I can't hear you. Please check the microphone, please.
The Pentagon says another surveillance balloon from China has been spotted over Latin America, and the U.S. says there were 3 instances during the Trump administration of China flying surveillance balloons over the U.S. What's the purpose of these balloons from China?
Could you please repeat the question, especially the second part, please?
The Pentagon says another surveillance balloon from China has been spotted over Latin America. And the U.S. says there were 3 instances during the Trump administration of China flying surveillance balloons over the U.S. What's the purpose of these balloons from China?
关于你提到的这个拉丁美洲上空的这个气球，经了解核实，有关的这个无人飞艇自中国，属民用性质。用于飞行试验，受气候影响，而且自身控制能力有限。这一飞艇严重偏离了预定路线，误入拉美和加勒比上空。中国是负责任的国家，一贯严格遵守国际法，已同有关各方进行通报并妥善处理，不会对任何国家造成任何威胁，各方也都对此表示理解。
The U.S. is confident, though, that what they shot down is, in fact, a spy balloon, disclosing that it contains surveillance equipment not normally associated with civilian research, like collection pod equipment and solar panels, and the balloon was flying over sensitive areas. Can you help us understand how this could be a weather balloon?
你这个问题问的是美国上空的气球，对吗？
监视气球。
Correct.
请你重复一下你的问题好吗？
The land of the U.S.
The
Could you repeat the
U.S. is
question?
confident that what they shot down is, in fact, a spy balloon, disclosing that the balloon carries surveillance equipment not normally associated with civilian research, with collection pod equipment and solar panels. This balloon was also flying over sensitive areas in the U.S. Could you help us understand how this could be a civilian research weather balloon?
中方已经多次向美方介绍了有关情况。
China has
这艘无人
communicated
飞
several
艇
times
也
with
是民用
U.S.
性
signed.
质，用于气象
This
等科研
airship
目
is
的。
also
受
a
西风带
civilian
影
one
响，
and
且
for
自身
the
控制能力有限，
meteorological
该飞
purposes
艇
and
严重
research
偏离了
purposes
预定航
and
线，
affected by
这
the
完全是
westerlies.
一次不可
The
抗力
airship
导
has
致的
far
偶发
deviated
意外
from
事
its
件。
planned course. This is an unexpected
中
and
国是
isolated
负责任的国家，
incident
我们
caused
一贯
by
是严格
the
遵守
force
国际法
majeure.
尊重别国国家主
China
权
is a
和领土
responsible
完整。
country. We always abide by international law
历史证
and
明，经
respect
常
the
践踏
sovereignty
国际
and
法， 侵犯别国主权和领土完整，是美国。我们已经表明，这完全是一次不可抗力导致的偶发意外事件，美方还刻意的渲染炒作，甚至武力袭击，是不可接受、不负责任的行为。
force majeure, but the U.S. keeps hyping up it is unacceptable and irresponsible. What kind of entity owns this balloon and the other ones? Are these state-owned or private enterprises?
我们已经介绍了情况，这是一支用于气象等科研目的的民用无人飞艇。
It is a
Could you please repeat the first part of your last question?
Yes,
mainly
so in
for
response
meteorological
to the US
and other
shooting the balloon
research
down, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs put out a statement saying that China will resolutely safeguard the rights of relevant companies. What kind of entity owns this balloon and the other ones? Are they state-owned, private enterprises?
我刚刚已经说了，这是一支用于气象等科研目的的民用无人飞
Like I said, this is a civilian unmanned airship, mainly for meteorological and research purposes.
I cannot hear you.
Thank you. The eyes of the world are now on China, as you know, following the shooting down of that balloon. Does China recognize how dangerous this moment could be? And with that in mind, should it avoid tit-for-tat escalations, especially if the debris gathered shows that the balloon was spying? Thank you.
中方已经多次介绍了情况。我想强调的是，这次事件完全是不可抗力导致的意外。美国国防部自己也声明，这个气球或者说这个飞艇不会对地面人员构成军事和人身威胁。美方不顾中方的反复说明，执意动用武力，明显反应过度，中方坚决反对。我想强调的是，对于这种偶发意外事件，双方都应当，特别是美方应当冷静、专业、非武力的方式妥善处理。
Should properly handle this in a calm manner
下一个问题。
and proper manner without the use of force.
谢谢发言人。本地青年报记者提问：此前发言人介绍说，第14届大爱无国界的国际义卖活动将于2月8日前后会以直播带货的方式举行。您能否介绍一下最新的情况和安排？
感谢你对大爱无国界国际义卖活动的关注。在中外各方的关心支持下，1月17日，第14届大爱无国界国际义卖活动开幕式以线上方式成功举办。2月8日晚7点半将举行直播带货。部分外国驻华使节和高级外交官、外交部定点帮扶的云南省2个县、建立支持合作关系的河北省2个县的代表，将走进央视新闻客户端和淘宝央视新闻直播间，推介义卖商品，展示多彩文化。活动的善款将用于实施温暖工程，为云南省金平县、马里坡县的中小学新建改造热水淋浴设施，让两县近2万名孩子沐浴温暖、健康成长。我们欢迎中外各界继续积极参加大爱无国界的有关活动，让我们相聚云端，奉献爱心，助力乡村振兴。下一个。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。新华社记者提问：我们注意到第77届联大主席克勒西于上周末结束了中国之行，您能否进一步介绍一下有关情况？谢谢。
2月1日至4日，第77届联大主席克勒西应邀访华，李克强总理、王毅国务委员分别会见，秦刚外长同克勒西举行了会谈。双方就当前国际形势、联合国的作为以及共同关心的议题深入交换了意见。访问期间，克勒西还会见了有关部委和河南省委负责人，赴河南郑州参访了南水北调中线川黄工程。克勒西是今年访华的首位联合国系统的高级官员。中国一贯支持多边主义，支持联合国的工作，支持联合国大会发挥重要作用。此访取得圆满成功，我想可以用3个关键词来总结此次访问的成果。第一个是团结，双方一致认为应坚持多边主义，要捍卫联合国权威，坚定维护以联合国为核心的国际秩序。
words. The first is unity. Both sides believe that we should stick to multilateralism and defend the authority of the UN, uphold the UN-centered international order, and also defend the international basic norms governing international relations based on the international law, and we should try to make international relations more democratic and increase the representation and say of developing countries. And second is development. We believe that we should put development high on the agenda of global development and support China in support developing countries in improving their independent development capability, and also to ensure better synergy between the Global Development Initiative and the 2030 Sustainable Agenda to deliver more practical projects and outcomes. And the third is challenging. Both sides believe that faced with multiple challenges and crises, countries in the world should value the application of sci-tech and increase the data's role in various fields, including water resources protection, climate change, biodiversity, and implementation of the 2030 Agenda. We supported the UN's holding of the Water Congress in March, and we appreciate President Kurosi's efforts.
You've characterized both balloons as entering the U.S. and Latin America accidentally and being blown off course. So I guess the question is, why is China having so much trouble controlling weather balloons? And is it going to take steps to sort of remedy that problem? Separately, can we ask, can you identify the company that made the balloon and provide any information on it? And does it have any connection to the PLA or the Ministry of State Security? Thank you.
关于你的第一个问题，这个气球如何控制，我不是专家，我可能不一定适合回答这个问题。但是从我个人的了解，国际上这个用于科研目的的气球失控也不是第一次。你的第二个问题，具体的公司我目前没有可以提供的信息。
Getting out of control. And as to your second question, for a specific company, I have no information to offer at this moment.
谢谢发言人。东方卫视记者提问：2月5日，巴基斯坦前总统穆沙拉夫因病去世，请问中方对此有何表态？谢谢。
穆沙拉夫前总统是中国人民的老朋友，为中巴关系的发展做出了重要贡献。我们对穆沙拉夫先生逝世表示沉痛哀悼，向家属致以诚挚的慰问。中方愿同巴方一道，继续弘扬中巴铁杆友谊，深化中巴全天候战略合作伙伴关系，推动构建新时代更加紧密的中巴命运共同体。下一个问题。
Next question, please.
Thank you. From the Wall Street Journal. So you've just identified that the balloons that have flown off course in Latin America are under similar circumstances to the one that's been identified in the United States. To your knowledge, are there any other balloons in the world that have currently been that the government or that China has lost control of? To your knowledge, is it only the balloons that have been identified so far, or should we expect other countries to come forward and say, actually, there's further balloons? What information can you share with us about that? Thank you.
我不了解你说的有关情况。
Are there any other balloons out there that have been lost, that control has been lost over? Or is it only the balloons in Latin America and the United States?
我已经介绍了我知道的情况，我不了解其他的情况。
I've shared with you what I understand, and I have no further information to add.
Hi, a question from AFP. The Foreign Ministry said this morning that Vice Foreign Minister Xie Feng has lodged stern representations of the U.S. Embassy over the handling of the Chinese balloons. Could you give more details about this encounter? Did Vice Minister Xie meet personally with the U.S. ambassador? And China has said it reserves the right to further respond to the balloon being shot down. What responses does China plan to take? Thank you.
关于谢峰副部长交涉的情况，中方已经发布了消息，你可以查阅。我想强调的是，美方不顾中方的反复说明，执意动用武力，明显反应过度。中方坚决反对，美方不要没完没了，升级扩大，中方加速事态的发展，做出必要的反应。
escalating the situation, and China will make response in light of the latest development.
谢谢。高董事的继续提问。类似这次的气球，在2020年和21年在日本也有目击飞在日本上空。您可不可以确认那个是中国的气球？谢谢。
我不了解你说的情况。
I'm not aware of the situation you mentioned.
Question from the New York Times. Is China taking the position that it reserves the right to shoot down unmanned aircraft that fly across its borders without permission, or is China taking the position that it is wrong to shoot down unmanned aircraft that fly across borders without permission? Thank you.
你的这个问题，我想强调的是，美方动用武力攻击误入的民用无人飞艇是过度反应，违反国际惯例。中方保留做出进一步必要反应的权利。
And this is overreaction and violates international customary practice. We reserve the right to make further necessary response.
发言人你好，俄通塔斯社记者提问。国家主席习近平以前多次强调金砖组织的重要性。请问中方如何看待这个多边机构的发展前景？外交部如何评价中国对这个机构发展的影响和作用？中方对金砖组织的跨源问题有什么样的立场？如果金砖国家在国际贸易等领域开始使用更多本地金钱来进行结算，减少美元的使用，外交部对此如何评价？金砖国家是否需要创造一种共同货币？这个是第一个问题。还有一个问题，第二个问题是2月1日，乌克兰执法机构扩大了对腐败的打击力度，对多名现任和前任高官及富商的住宅展开搜查。请问外交部对这种情况有何评论？谢谢。
你的第一个问题，金砖合作是在国际格局大变革的时期应运而生的。经过10几年的艰巨奋斗和辛勤耕耘，金砖合作呈现出根深叶茂、蓬勃发展的良好势头，成为国际事务中的一支重要力量。中方作为去年金砖的主席国，成功主办了金砖国家领导人第14次会晤，取得了一系列开创性、引领性和机制性的成果。金砖中国年一共举办了160多场会议活动，涵盖了30多个具体领域，为金砖合作留下了深刻的中国印记。金砖国家领导人第14次会晤发表的《北京宣言》明确指出，支持通过讨论推进金砖国家会员进程。中方将继续秉持开放包容、合作共赢的金砖精神，同金砖伙伴一道，加强同其他新兴市场国家和发展中国家的合作。在充分讨论和协商一致的基础上，共同推进金砖的扩员进程。近年来，金砖国家在财经货币领域积极地开展交流合作，取得了积极进展。对于便利金砖国家的贸易往来，共同促进经济复苏具有重要意义。关于你的第二个问题，这是乌克兰的内政，我不做评论。
played an important role in facilitating trade relations between BRICS countries and promote economic recovery. On your second question, we do not comment on the domestic affairs of Ukraine.
On Friday, China dismissed the head of its weather department. This came just after the Pentagon said that the balloon was over Montana, which houses U.S. Nuclear missile sites. Was this dismissal of the weather department official related to the balloon? Separately, Secretary of State Antony Blinken had said that he will postpone his trip to China. Are there any plans for that trip to be put back on the schedule?
我的第二个问题是，布林肯已经推迟了对华访问，那么在未来有没有类似的计划？
中国人社部网站发布的消息，我没有这方面的信息。
Of the Ministry of Human Resources
你的第二个问题，你提到布林肯国务卿访华，事实上中美双方都没有宣布过什么访问。美方发布消息是美方自己的事情，两国外交团队有责任妥善管控双边关系。
And it is a matter for the U.S. itself to make the latest announcement. Next one, please.
Hi, from CNBC, I have two questions. First question is the U.S. Senator Schumer said that once the balloon was exposed to the public, China attempted to maneuver the balloon to leave the U.S. as soon as they could. Can the Chinese side confirm this, and how did they attempt to maneuver the balloon? The second question is, now that we don't know exactly when Blinken would be coming to visit China, what sorts of actions does China plan in order to put further guardrails on the U.S.-China relationship and prevent further economic fallout? Thank you.
防止中美关系继续恶化。
So there's hopes that if Blinken was able to visit Beijing, that would help put guardrails on the U.S.-China relationship. Now that there's no set date on when he's able to make this trip, what plans does China have to help keep the relationship stable and to prevent economic or other tensions from increasing?
经济局势恶化。
关于你的第一个问题，我能告诉你的是，我们与美方保持着沟通，一直在以负责任的方式处理这个问题。你的第二个问题关于中美关系，我可以告诉你的是，中方始终按照习近平主席提出的相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢三原则看待和发展中美关系，同时坚定捍卫自身主权安全、发展利益。此次飞艇误入美国领空，完全是意外偶发事件，但考验的是美方对稳定和改善中美关系的同意以及处理危机的方式。美方应当同中方相向而行，妥善管控分歧，避免误解误判，破坏彼此互信。
sincerity in improving and stabilizing bilateral relations and its way to handling crisis. We hope the U.S. will work with China to properly handle our differences and avoid miscalculation
another question from
and
AFP.
undermining our mutual
The Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell has said that he has agreed to an in-person meeting with Chinese Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao. Can you confirm this, and can you share any details of the recent talks between the two trade ministers? Thank you.
你提到的这个问题，我注意到中国商务部在上周好像已经发布了有关消息，你可以查阅，但是我不是特别确信。具体的问题，请你向中方的主管部门了解。
But I'm not very sure about that, and I will refer you to the competent authorities. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from Reuters. I understand what you said just now about China reserving the right to take necessary actions in relation to the shooting down of the balloon by the U.S. But what would be your position, hypothetically, before this balloon incident? Would China shoot down a U.S. balloon or drone if it finds it above U.S. or Chinese territory? Thank you.
进入中国领空的类似的飞行器。
我不回答假设性的问题，但是我可以告诉你的是，这次飞艇事件事实很清楚，完全是一次不可抗力导致的偶发意外事件。美方应当冷静、专业、妥善的处理。
Unexpected and isolated incident caused by force measure. The U.S. side should handle it in a professional, calm
manner. Thank you. Follow up from Reuters. Does the foreign ministry know exactly which Chinese company or entity owns this balloon? And would China be prepared to help this entity seek compensation if needed?
帮助该公司来申请
你的第一个问题关于企业我没有可以提供的信息。我想强调的是，中方将坚定维护中方有关企业的合法权益。
But I need to stress that we will firmly defend the lawful rights of Chinese company.
还有其他问题？
China has objected, a question from the New York Times, China has objected to the downing in shallow water of the balloon where the debris could be picked up. Where did China want the balloon to go instead? Did it expect it to crash into the ocean? Did it expect it to land on a Chinese ship in the ocean? Did it expect to fly back to China? What was the plan for the airship if it had not been downed? Thank you.
我想，这也是个假设性的问题，我无法回答。
This is a hypothetical question too, and I can't give any answer to that. Next one, please.
还有其他问题吗？
Thank you, from Reuters again. At what point, on which day, did the foreign ministry find out about this balloon? Was it before
中
or
国是什
after
么时候
the
发
US
现
said
的
it
这个
had
气球？
discovered this balloon?
是
Thank you.
在美方发现之前还是之后？
我可以告诉你的是，中方是负责任的国家。美方向中方通报之后，我们立即核查，并且第一时间向美方做出了反馈，明确要求美方以冷静、专业、克制的方式妥善处理。美方不顾中方的立场和要求，执意使用武力，明显是反过度。
handle it in a proper, calm, and professional and restrained manner, despite China's request, its use of force is overreaction.
It has so little knowledge of its balloon that it has to rely on other countries to tell it that this balloon is
是否担心它对自己的气球知之甚少？
Does it concern or worry China that it doesn't have an overall systematic way of tracking where its balloons are, such that it needs to rely on the other countries to let it know that they have found a balloon in their airspace, and therefore for China to do something about it?
气球经常进入其他的领空。
我已经多次强调了，这是一个不可抗力导致的偶发和意外的事件，应该得到冷静、专业、妥善的处理。
Incident caused by force measure. It needs to be handled in a professional and calm manner.
We saw this morning the statement that Vice Foreign Minister Xie Feng had met with or had spoken, conveyed his reaction to the U.S. Embassy. I'm curious, over the weekend, can you comment on whether there's been any other direct communication between the U.S. and China, specifically about the downing of the aircraft? For example, has the Chinese Ministry of Defense communicated at all with the Pentagon about this issue? Thank you.
中国国防部是否与五角大楼
Specifically, has the Ministry of Defense of China communicated at all with the Pentagon about this issue? Thank you.
我可以告诉你的是，中方一直同美方保持着沟通，明确要求美方以冷静、专业、克制的方式妥善处理。我们也向美方通报了我们核实之后了解的信息和情况。
And we have communicated with the U.S. side what we have verified.
还有其他问题吗？
Sorry, this is about the Australian Trade Minister Don Farrell, his upcoming meeting with his Chinese counterpart Wang Wentao. Sorry, just to confirm, is this a meeting? Does it replaces the online meeting that the Commerce Ministry confirmed last week, or has that meeting been postponed and replaced with this in-person meeting?
上周宣布的。
这个问题建议你向中国商务部了解，我不了解具体的情况。
I think MOFCOM is in a better position to take this question. I'm not aware of the specifics.
还有其他问题吗？
One more question from AFP. A magnitude 7.8 earthquake today has killed hundreds of people in Turkey and Syria. Have any Chinese citizens been hurt, and is China planning to provide humanitarian assistance? Thank you.
我们密切关注土耳其、叙利亚发生强烈地震的灾情，向灾害中的遇难者表示哀悼。也对遇难者家属和受伤人员表示慰问，衷心祝愿土耳其叙利亚人民早日战胜灾害，重建美好家园。地震之后，中国驻土耳其、叙利亚等地区的使领馆迅速地启动了应急响应机制，多方核实了解中国公民受灾的情况。目前我们暂时没有收到中国公民的伤亡报告。中国驻相关地区的使领馆将继续密切关注地震灾情，做好当地中国公民
continue to closely following the situation on the ground and offer consular protection. And we also would like to remind our citizens to guard against the following effects of the earthquake.
还有其他问题吗？没有的话，今天的记者会到此结束，谢谢大家。
That's all for today. Thank you.